Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you with us today. The Vols wrapped up a 7-5 regular season, which if you'd told me that to start the year, I'd have said throw a ticker tape parade for Josh Heupel. So start snipping up the ticker tape. 7-5 after the 45-21 victory over Vanderbilt yesterday. Kind of a blah game, but Tennessee took care of business, which it's good for Tennessee to be able to just roll their helmets out there and kick Vanderbilt around. It's been a while. We're going to talk all about that game, but most of this day is going to be spent with kind of a wrap-up of the season, bests, worst. We'll look at coaching moves. We'll look at the roster churn at Tennessee. Much to come today. And before we get into it, let me just say, I'll say this at the end of the show, but I want to say it off the top. Thanks. We are finishing our 19th football season today. Of course, we'll be back next week, and we go year-round, but 19 seasons is something to really be thankful for. And this Thanksgiving, I thank you for supporting us and our sponsors these many years. Let's get into it. First segment of today's show brought to you by our friends at Junk Be Gone. And after the holidays is a great, great time to call these guys. Load up all those boxes, all the old stuff that you've now replaced with new stuff, all the wasted wrapping paper, even your Christmas tree. Put it in their dumpster, have them haul it away for you. Simple, easy, clean. They take care of it. Great company. And after the holidays is a great time to call. Junk Be Gone. Check them out at junkbegone.biz. Okay, let's welcome in the first wave of panelists today. VFL Will Overstreet right here.
Glad to be here.
Jimmy Himes from WNML. That would be 99.1 The Sports Animal. And then from 99.1 The Sports Animal, we have Josh. I hope Jeff Jarnigan's happy that I've finally learned how to say this. Josh Ward right down there from WNML as well. Thank you. And down there, VFL Marlon Walls. Marlon, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Okay, as I said, Tennessee wins 45-21. The game was really never in doubt, but it still felt like something was just a little off. Tennessee wasn't clicking. It was the first time all year they didn't score an offensive touchdown in the first quarter. Had the Theo Jackson pick six, of course. Yeah. But it just seemed, we talked with Jimmy on Tuesday on his radio show and thought that, well, if Tennessee gets a lead, Vanderbilt after this year, they're just going to pack it in. They didn't, but I got the feeling Tennessee maybe was looking for, it's been a long year, let's just get this thing over with and get into the locker room. Your thoughts on a blah afternoon? I didn't think it wasn't typical Tennessee precision, but it also, you kicked Vandy's butt.
It wasn't typical Tennessee precision this year, but it was typical Tennessee Vanderbilt, which is the game where you can roll your hat out on the field. That's how it was. And so after going through the November or the Thanksgiving day, you roll out of bed a little fat and happy and have a little too much turkey. And so you get the slow start. So I guess the only thing I can say there is they were good enough to beat them. I think they probably at this point in the season are looking forward to the bowl game and are looking forward to some other stuff. And I think they probably took their eyes off the balls. Their game they were least ready to play at the very beginning. At the same time, it tells you what this team is able to do, that they're able to come out like that and play with Vanderbilt and blow them out. Because there haven't been many years in the past couple of years that we'd be able to do that with a team.
Yeah, you've now tied Vanderbilt over the last 10 years. You're now 5-5 of the last 10 years.
Back to 500.
That's right, back to 500 against Vanderbilt. So there have been several years in the last few that you couldn't roll it out there and beat Vanderbilt. Senior day is an emotional day. Mm-hmm. At the end of a long season, we got a bowl game ahead of you. Wasn't a great crowd yesterday. It felt blah watching it. Did you guys have that feeling inside the stadium?
Yes, I did. And I thought that it was. And, I mean, the crowd was maybe 50,000 in actual attendance. But I also think that your program is showing progress when you beat Vanderbilt by 24 and you got fans complaining about the game. So I guess that's a positive side
fans
of it.
Who didn't go.
The fans that didn't go. And even those that did. But it was, I thought that Tennessee obviously didn't get off to a good start. But look, every team in the country has those kind of games. I mean, Alabama had about 3 or 4 of them this year. So it's going to happen. I thought it happened for Tennessee in this one where they just didn't seem ready to play. And yet here they are with a 24-point win. Now, they're much better than Vanderbilt. But I think that is a sign that your program is making progress when you win a game like that. And it's like, they didn't play that well.
Well, Ole Miss played kind of the same game. They only won by 14. They didn't win by 24.
Right.
So credit Tennessee for, even on an off day, taking care of business. Josh, Marlon, your thoughts on what you saw yesterday?
Yes, I agree with everything you've said. It's not an excuse, but you don't have your right side of the offensive line. Maybe you pick up 4th and short in the first quarter. Maybe you score a touchdown there. We're not even talking about no touchdown in the first quarter offensively. So going through the motion, all that stuff, personnel issues, you have the emotions of senior day. I agree with what they said, Marlon. It's a positive that you can win by 24 points having a ball game.
Yeah, it's a positive. And the truth be told, and guys that played on this, that play ball and that's on the set, they understand. What happens is, man, you go into this week, it's Thanksgiving. You're already bowl eligible. That's something we haven't done in the past season. And so for them, man, they was excited about the bowl game. And so when you look at the tape, and coaches probably did a great job of trying to hype Vanderbilt up. Hey, if you don't do this, they're going to come out prepared and they're going to beat you. But when you look at the tape as a player, you know that you can roll your helmet out there and they're going to give you a couple balls like we saw in the pick six. And then now you know you're going to beat Vanderbilt. And so I think that's what it was. The guys kind of laid over for them, kind of looking forward to the next couple weeks.
And I'll give credit to Vanderbilt, too. They're kind of I don't know that Clark Lee's going to have any success there ever. It's a hell of a job. But they didn't roll over on him the way Florida rolled over on Dan Mullen. I mean, they had every reason in the world to give up on the season, to give up yesterday. They didn't. They kept fighting, so I'll tip my cap to them for that. Marlon, you have said in the past, we've all talked about it, you were one of the first to point it out, that it seems that one of the reasons Tennessee gets out to a fast start every week is it takes about a quarter for the other team to figure out, okay, I now understand this speed.
Yep.
We didn't talk about it last week, and I should have. Vanderbilt last week played the second fastest offense in the country in Ole Miss. This week they played the fastest in Tennessee. They didn't seem to be caught too badly off guard early. Did playing Ole Miss last week and getting used to that speed help them in preparation for Tennessee?
100%. And I knew that going into the game, that they played Ole Miss tough. I know how fast Ole Miss goes because Tennessee played them earlier. I knew that Vanderbilt be a little bit more prepared. And if you look at the Georgia game or any other opponents that Tennessee's played against, it take them about a quarter before the defensive line stop huffing and puffing and understand their assignment and get it done. And so I knew that Vanderbilt just playing Ole Miss, who's fast as well, with a better quarterback or potentially better quarterback, they would be a little bit more prepared for Tennessee.
Quickly, guys, give me an A to F grade on where this year finished for you in terms of everything where this program was last January. Everything you've been through with the transfer portal, schedule, new coach, all the stuff thrown in together. What kind of grade do you give this year?
Grading on the curve or just a
Grade on the curve.
Grade on the curve, I give it an A. I mean, because you turned it around where you were last year. Lots of the players you lost. Your defense came out and played entirely different than a lot of people thought it was going to be, kept you in games. So I think just looking at the whole situation, going from where we were last year to 7-5 and going into a bowl game and being able to roll your hat out against Vandy and actually beating them, I have to give it an A. I mean, there's hard to say any other way.
You didn't lose in an upset all year. Nobody that you were expected to beat clipped you all year long. All right, very quickly, Jimmy, what kind of grade you give?
A-. I'm very close to Will on that. There were a couple of things that I would ding them about here and there, but overall I thought they played hard and they got pretty much the most out of their talent. I think they'd like to have that Pitt game back, although Pitt's pretty good now. That's a good football team, but I think they might want to have that one back.
Josh?
Yeah, I'd go A as well. I think Tennessee did everything that just about everybody expected and better than a lot of people expected. So 7-5, and the way that they played, as fun as they were, I'd go A.
I'm gonna go B plus just because I don't want to go with everybody else. With it.
Former coach.
I'm gonna go B plus because they did some things that we didn't expect Tennessee to be able to do. Anybody that's watched Tennessee football and you look at this roster and the guys we lost and who's playing other places, brand new head coach. We've been in that cycle a bunch of times. Yeah. You don't usually come out of this and in the SEC schedule 4-4 and 7-5. So I give them a B plus for that.
Also a very likable team.
Very likable team.
You know, I'll say this before we get into everything else, and we got a ton of stuff to cover. We're doing a lot of season breakdown today, but salute to not only the seniors who went through all the changes over there, but all those guys who came back. You got some guys who were leaving early, who were a part of this, but you know, we've seen these guys before when it looked like, okay, Butch Jones, those guys were putting down a foundation. Marlon, you were on those teams. Turns out, didn't turn out. So we don't know where this is going. But credit those guys, because you had a lot of guys who weren't loyal, who took off and left. I thought they deserved a little bit better send-off yesterday. But, you know, these guys deserve a lot of credit for not only sticking around, but for grading on the curve, getting an A grade, or at least a B+. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the best and worst from the season. We'll bring out the next three members of the panel. What were the best moments? High water marks, low water marks. That's next. Going back on the Sports Source.